Welcome to New Stripe City, a YouTube channel for diehard Bengals fans. Your Cincinnati Bengals are 0-11, people. Worst start in franchise history. 0-11. Worse than 93, worse than any year that the Bengals have ever had is this year, 2019. Where do we start from here? I came in saying that this was a win-win for the Bengals. Number one, if they won, it would feel good because we beat the Steelers. Number two, if we lost, make sure that we still secure the number one pick. Um, this was a typical Bengal game, bro. Typical Bengal game. One thing that I will say is Ryan Finley is trash, people. We knew it. I told you guys he was not the answer. Me and Zim said that he wasn't the answer. Um, but one thing that I will say about this team is that they definitely showed some heart today. So hats off to the players. They definitely tried to do what they could do to win. Just had some tough breaks there. Tyler Boyd fumbles. Ryan Finley just, doesn't have a great game. Has no arm strength. Clearly isn't the guy for the Bengals going forward. If you watch this game and you still don't believe that the Cincinnati Bengals need to take a quarterback with the first pick in the draft, I don't know what to tell you. To be honest with you, if we're not going to take a quarterback, I would want to hear you guys say that the Bengals need to take Andrew Thomas, an offensive lineman, being that they gave up so many sacks today. I don't see how you watch this game and think that you should go and pick Chase Young. The defensive line played amazing this game. You talk about Carlos Dunlap had a sack. Carl Lawson was all in the backfield. Andrew Billings has been good all season, had a sack. The defense isn't bad, people. It's not, the defensive line isn't bad, people. The linebackers are bad. The linebackers are the worst part of the defense. But how do you look at this game and not think that you need help on offense? The Bengals this entire season, a lot of the issues with the exception of the 49ers game, the Ravens game, their issue is that they can't score. Like, I really want to see Kyle Hoover's leg right now because it has to be as big as my head with how many punts he's had this season. All we do is punt. I feel like that's our offense. Our offense is down, 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 punt. A couple of throws here to Tyler Boyd, a couple runs by Joe Mixon, punt, punt, punt. 0-11, man. 0-11. I think that this, by any means, this shows you that we need to draft a quarterback, bro. We need to draft a quarterback. Defense, yes, there are areas that the defense can improve on, but you can't win in the NFL with scoring 10 points. Exactly, Cincy Bengals fan. Every single start that Ryan Finley has had, they have scored 10 points. When Andy scored 10 points, I said the same thing. You can't win in this league if you cannot score points, right? So this was a low-scoring game. You want to know why it was a low-scoring game? Because Mason Rudolph is trash. The other quarterback that they have is trash. Their defense is better than ours. But if you would have had a better quarterback, this game would have been so easy for us to win. That's all you needed was just a decent, good quarterback. Zach Taylor, I don't know what he can really do. Like, honestly, I don't know why. I don't know why. I'm not going to say that he called really a bad game. I can't remember any of the play calls that he had that were really bad. I did think that there was one drive where he could have gone for it on fourth down, but I didn't blame him for taking the points. I think that's when it was 10-10. But there's just things that happen that they just couldn't plan for. The Tyler Boyd fumble mainly was really the main one, but you just can't move anywhere. You just can't move anywhere. You can't do anything unless you have a quarterback. So defense, hats out to them on the board for the Bengals. Joe Mixon had some great runs, but Ryan Finley does not have an arm, man. It's really, I told you guys, he's like a great value version of Andy Dalton, right? So the Bengals now move on to 0-11. This was a game that they could have had. This is a game that I wanted to win. And you guys know me. I've been prepared for the tank, but this was a game that I did want the Bengals to win. In other news, the Redskins won, so thanks for that, Dylan. That means that the Bengals are pretty much locked in right now for this draft pick. And that's the thing, too. You've got to take a quarterback that has an arm. You cannot wait until this is the scenario. I understand what you guys are saying when you say, hey, why don't you draft Chase Young and you wait until the second round to get a quarterback, right? You don't even want to put yourself in that position because when you had a number one pick, you can pick whoever you want. You can get whichever quarterback you want. You can control the board. When you wait all the way into the second round, there is no guarantee who is going to be there. Now, you might want to get the kid from Oklahoma, Jalen Hurts, right? There's no guarantee that Jalen Hurts is going to be there in the second round. Like a lot of people forget that when Pat Mahomes came out, right? A lot of people consider Pat Mahomes a second rounder. They thought that the Pat Mahomes was going to go in the second round. The Bengals thought that too. The Bengals were going to try to pick Pat Mahomes in the second round. Well, it turns out the Chiefs really liked him. All it takes is one team to really like a guy for them to trade up and move and grab that guy. Now, it would be different to me if the Bengals were a team that moved up in the draft historically, if they were aggressive, if they went out and did things to go and grab these guys. Like, if it was another franchise other than the Bengals and you said, let's go ahead and get Chase Young, we'll move back in like the Ravens did, right? If it was the Ravens moving back in and getting their guy, waiting for a quarterback to drop and going back and getting him, then I would say, yeah, you can do that. But with the Bengals, they're not going to do that. One thing that Carson Palmer said that was true is that the Bengals literally sit and wait for guys to fall for them. We've seen this with so many years. We've seen this happen. They've waited and guys jump in front of them and take whoever it is that they're waiting for. And you'd be stupid to think that nobody in their right mind would think that the Bengals are going after a quarterback if they were to take Chase Young. They know exactly what the Bengals are going to do in the second round. They would know exactly what they're going to do. Like, that would just be like showing your hand with exactly what you're going to do. So what happens, let me know what you guys say to this. So if you want to get Chase Young, right, you get Chase Young, and somebody trades into the 25 pick and takes Jalen Hurts because they think that the Lamar Jackson thing is legit and they trust it and they decide to do that. Who do you take in the second round? Who are you taking there? Jordan Love? Are you like who do you take? From? Like, if you don't think that there's a difference between Joe Burrow and Herbert and Tua and these guys versus those guys, I don't know what to tell you. Picking up Cam Newton, yeah, if you want to pay him $30 million a year, like that's how much Cam Newton is gonna cost. They're not gonna pay that. Like, that's the whole reason why you don't want to keep Andy Dalton is just because of this. And this is why you take a quarterback, right? The number one most valuable thing that you can have in the NFL right now. Look around the league. Just don't look at the Bengals. When you look at the Texans, when you look at the Chiefs, when you look at the Seahawks when they won a Super Bowl, when you look at any team that's gotten there, the Rams, how were they able to stockpile that talent? How were they able to keep those teams together? The reason why is because they had a young rookie quarterback on that scale because you don't have to pay them that much. You can keep all of your players. You can go and sign offensive linemen. You can go and sign free agents. You can go and extend the players that you currently have. Why do you not do that? It's the most valuable thing to have, right? So that's why I say if you're trying to rebuild and you want to become a competitive team again, and if you want to do it within the window that A.J. Green, Geno Atkins, Carlos Dunlap, some of the pillars of your team, some of the best players of your team that are there right now, you have to take a quarterback. And you have to go ahead and get that quarterback with that number one pick or the number two pick, whatever it is. I mean, at this point, we have the number one pick. So, dude, like, you have to do that. It's the most valuable thing. So that's the thing, right? That's why you don't keep Andy Dalton. That's why you don't go out and sign. And this is my thing. A lot of people think that since I said move on from Andy Dalton, that means that, I might be open to a veteran quarterback signing. I don't want that. You have to pay, like Nick Foles, right? Nick Foles, I think, made over $22 million or something a year. That's how much it costs for a quarterback these days. I don't want that. I do not want that. I simply do not want that. Why waste 20 million on a quarterback or a guy that's not the answer when you can have one for a backer to sign a top flight guy, to keep a William Jackson III, to keep a Carl Love? You need to draft a quarterback. And this is the thing. Offensive line, I hear it. Jonah Williams was taken last year. This is a team that hasn't had Jonah Williams and Cordy Glenn this year. Cordy Glenn probably walks, right? But automatically, you already have a left tackle next year. I am in the business of improving this offense. You take your franchise quarterback in the first round. You take your right tackle in the second round. You pick one up in free agency. You do whatever you can to fix this offensive line, to fix the quarterback position, to fix this offense. You cannot win in the NFL if you do not score the football. This is not the year 2000. If you had Lawrence Taylor, Von Miller, and Khalil Mack coming off the edge, if you're averaging 10 points a game in the NFL, you will be picking in the top 3 next year again. And it's that simple. It's nothing against Chase Young. It's nothing against anybody. You need to have a quarterback. This is a quarterback league. The guys, the teams that win, they have one thing in common. They all have quarterbacks. They have Lamar Jackson. They have Deshaun Watson. They have Pat Mahomes. They have Aaron Rodgers. They had Andrew Luck when the Colts were doing their thing. It's the number one most important position in football. It's why they get paid the big bucks. It's why they get paid the most. It's why they're about to start being paid $35 million a year. It's the most important position in football. So, sorry guys, I'm a little bit frustrated about it because I just want this team to be better, bro. I just really want this team to be better. You know, there is a path for it to be better. And, you know, I really wanted to win this game, but, you know, maybe this is a lesson that the Bengals need to do whatever they can to turn this around. Jake Delgala, I'm with you. I think, thanks, man. I appreciate it, bro. Congratulations on your win. Let's keep it classy. Appreciate it. I'll definitely try to do another rebuild. But, man, if Dalton will be in next week, I mean, Dalton just doesn't do it for me. I mean, I wouldn't mind to see him. I mean, what are you really gaining? What are you really gaining at point from putting Andy Dalton in? I just really would like to know that. Outside of a chance to win, maybe that's cool. But the thing with Andy Dalton is this: you have to pay him $17 million next year if you keep him. So say, for instance, you put him back out there and you put yourself in a position where Dalton wins every last game. Number one, you put yourself out of contention for the number 1 pick. Number two, you put yourself in a position where you're on the hook for $17 million next year, which that could go to offensive linemen, that could go to linebackers, that could go to a bunch of different people. Why would we do that? That's not, I mean, that might be the best for somebody that likes Andy Dalton. That's not the best for the Cincinnati Bengals. And I'm in the business of being a Bengals fan. I'm not a fan of the players, bro. Like, I loved Ocho Cinco. I love AJ Green. I love Joe Mixon. If they turn and put on a different uniform next week, I'm still going to be a Bengals fan. I want what's best for this team to be good. And Andy Dalton right now, that might give us a win, but it might also get us out of the number 1 pick. And, I mean, why would you do that right now when Tua just got hurt? Like, to me, Justin Herbert isn't as good as Joe Burrow and these guys. Like, are you really going to do that? So, and that's my thing, man. Like, we put so much into Andy Dalton. And I have said this from day one. If anybody has known me outside of YouTube, outside of any of this stuff, Andy Dalton is not a bad quarterback. He's not. He's not a good quarterback either. And AJ Green has made him look like a better quarterback than he really is for the majority of his career. That is why when AJ Green is not in the game, there's no coincidence that Andy Dalton doesn't look as good as he is. And Andy Dalton is a guy that depends on guys around him. And the guys that are around him are injury-prone players. AJ Green, John Ross, Tyler Eifert. You can't count on those guys to be there. You really can't count on those guys to be there. So you cannot, in a sense, count on Andy Dalton. And that's why you have to move on from him. Look at the rookie year. If any of you guys have Game Pass or any of that, Go back to his rookie year. Like, do you guys not remember that AJ literally like had to jump over two or three defenders every time for underthrown passes from Andy? He's made him look good. He's a decent quarterback, right? But if everything around him isn't right, it's not going to work. And that's why it's not going to work with the Bengals because nothing around him is going to be right. And even when everything was right, guess what his numbers were in the playoffs? He didn't win any games. He couldn't beat TJ Yates. He has one touchdown and six interceptions. He's not the answer. How many like come on guys. Come on guys. I wasn't a Carson fan either. The last year Carson was here and there were people that were Carson Palmer's fans that were like he's right about, being doing this and being like this for the front office and all of that. I hope he wins and all of that. Forget Carson Palmer. He was throwing 20 interceptions. Get him out of here. If you're not part of the solution of turning the Bengals around, I don't want you. If we get Joe Burrow and Joe Burrow next year goes out and throws 20 interceptions, it's about them being better. It's about them being a better team. Whew. All right, let me get to some of you guys' questions. I'm gonna take questions, man, because after that, man, I'm here for you guys. So Dave, the insurance guy, says, "What is the answer?" The answer to me is that there are several things that need to be fixed. Number one, the offensive line. Number two, the quarterback position. Number three, the linebacker position. Number four, the coaching. You have to also remember that a lot of this that has transpired is because Zach Taylor did not get first dibs on the best coach. He's picking over leftovers. Changes have to happen there. Let me go through some of these some of the more questions. Let's see. You can't trust Duke Tobin, Mike Brown to rebuild this team. Man, people need to take a look at Duke Tobin. This mess this past 3 years, Duke. I'm sorry, man. What's going on? I really feel like I don't hear enough people talk about that. Duke Tobin has not been what we've expected from him. Like a lot of this stuff, I have to blame on him. I don't know who's making these decisions, but anytime they get a chance to, they make it seem like Duke is. So Duke, they definitely need to look at him. The medical staff and scouts, the scouting department, it needs to be improved. It really needs to be. And this is my thing. If it's about Mike Brown and if anyone in the front office is listening to this, if you're listening to this, I'm not asking you to go out and we don't need you to go out and spend money. What you need to do is that you need to look at the college ranks or you need to look at anyone who wants to be an NFL scout. You pay them pennies on the dollar because they want to just be an NFL scout and you increase your department and you put those guys in there. I don't care if it takes internships. I don't care if it takes, little bits of money. I have friends that work in professional sports. They don't get paid that much. Extend your scouting department, okay? Get Duke Tobin some help. I don't know what is going on. You need to either look at Duke Tobin and determine whether or not he's your guy going forward, or you need to make some decisions. Number three, you need to sign players in free agency. You really need to sign players in free agency. Use them. I don't know if you need to hire them. I don't know what your relationship is with them. But if you're not using PFF right now, I don't know what to tell you. I don't know if there needs to be some analytics that are improved or what it is, but those are things that you need to do. Someone says the problem with free agency is no one wants to come here, and that's true. You're going to have to pay more guaranteed money if you want guys to be here. I don't know how you do that. Like the only other way outside of doing that is trading some of your picks. Like you need to start moving in the draft, Bengals. You need to move up. You need to move back. You need to trade some of those picks for players that are disgruntled in other areas. And that's another way. Like if you can't get people to sign here, you can damn sure trade for them. And they have no point or no reason but to stay there. So you wanting to hold on to these fourth round picks and fifth rounds and third round picks that are going to go nowhere, that you're going to go and draft other busts with, you need to get up off of them. Stop hoarding picks. Stop it. That's not a great strategy. It hasn't worked. It really has not worked. Like for every one of these Jordan Brown picks and all of that, these guys aren't even on the roster anymore. The reason that I say that Duke Tobin is part of the problem is because he had to play a role in letting Whitworth go, not having the tackles. He made the decision to do that. That had to be his decision. He made the decision to not spend money on linebackers or not draft linebackers high enough that were competent enough, and now you have the same issues that you've had for the past umpteen years. He's been the one coming out saying that he wanted to keep Andy Dalton. A lot of this mess is due to him. Now I don't know if that means that he needs to we need to get rid of him or whatever, but it needs to be considered. It really needs to be considered. Um, I hear a lot of people talking about Zach and all of this. Like Zach didn't pick these players, man. A lot of these guys that are getting signed to this team that I see is just ridiculous. I don't even know some of these guys that they picked up. They just picked up a linebacker or a defensive end. I don't even know who these guys are, right? So when it comes to that, I think that the front office needs to look at itself in the mirror. You need to improve the scouting department. You need to get more resources involved, whether that's PFF, whether that is what it is. And it's not about just because you have PFF as a resource, that doesn't mean that you have to go with exactly what they say, but you have to do something to improve this roster. You have to do something to turn it around. If you want fans to come back and reinvest into the Bengals, there need to be changes made. And these have to be changes that will do things to inspire confidence in this team because the team isn't even that bad. They're 0-11, but when you look at it on paper, they're not that bad. Yes, they've had injuries. Like you need to look at the medical staff, or I don't know what it is. I don't know whether it's training, medical staff, whatever it is. You need to do something there. Sorry, I keep that energy for sure. Like, man, honestly, like, really want to be in because, like, I don't think that players that are out of jobs and stuff like that just don't want to come to Cincinnati. I don't think so. Who's going into free agency? I'm not sure. Will they give Zach the tools to win next year? I think they're gonna let Zach pick a quarterback. We'll have to see though. Don't let Zach off the hook. This is my thing. This is my thing. When I look at the Bengals, I look at them from, a league-wide perspective and what happens around the league, right? Normally what happens when you sign a new coach is what happened in Arizona. They get to pick their guy no matter what. You can't hold a head coach too accountable if this guy isn't his guy. If he doesn't have say in these guys that are coming in, you can't be mad at that. Now, I don't like that his play calling has been bad, but he can fix that himself. That could be something that he's willing to fix next year where he decides, hey, maybe I shouldn't be calling plays and maybe I should hire an offensive coordinator that's capable of good play calling. That could be something that Zach could do next season. But I can't really be mad at Zach for inheriting the same issues and the same problems that Marvin Lewis had to work with. Like he inherited a team that had a horrible offensive line, had an average quarterback, and came into this situation. Like I don't think that. I think and I'm just spectating. Or they interviewed this man. I think I don't have any sources or any of this because I hear a lot of people to take the stuff I say and say that this is what I'm hearing from. Anytime I say something like this that I'm just speculating on, I'll tell you guys that I'm just speculating on it. My speculation is that they went out to LA. They probably sat down with Zach Taylor and they said, Zach, one of the requirements of you being the coach of this football team is that we think that Andy Dalton's our guy. We at least want to give him one more year to see if he's our guy. And are you cool with that? I think Zach said yes. But that's not the situation that typically happens with new coaches. New coaches get to come in, and if that's not their guy and if that's not their system, they're going to take whoever they want, whether it's via trade, whether it's via the draft. When Andy Reid went to the Kansas City Chiefs, the first thing that he did was trade for Alex Smith. And right after he got Alex Smith, you know what he did? Once he was close enough, he moved up and he took Pat Mahomes. That is what coaches do. And that's why if the Redskins end up with the second pick in the draft and they bring in a new coach and a new staff that does not think that Dwayne Haskins is the guy in Washington, you will see the Washington Redskins take a quarterback because that was a quarterback that was built for a different system from a previous staff that had no connection with this one going forward. So for me, he's not off the hook. I mean, if you go on in 16, you could be fired. But to me, it just, there's too much here that I can't really put on him, right? I can't put it on Zach Taylor that we didn't sign any linebackers. I can't put it on Zach Taylor that, you know, Jonah Williams went down and, you know, they got a guard outside at left tackle. I can't really do that, right? I can put the play calling on him. I can put certain decisions that are made in the game on him. But I don't know. I don't know. I think if you're really considering anybody, it needs to be now. One thing that I will say about Zach Taylor was the hire Jim Turner. That could be something that you could hold against him as well. Let me get back to some of these questions. Yeah, we're just gonna have to wait till next year, man. But I like I said, man, I appreciate the players for playing hard, showing some heart today. Once again, this video is not about y'all. Y'all came out, y'all did y'all thing. Y'all showed a lot of heart today. Y'all came out, y'all tried to take it to the Steelers. Tyler Boyd, keep your head up. Keep your head up. Let's do what we can, man. Let's at least get this season with one win, man. These players really deserve it. But we'll have to see what happens. As usual, this has been your boy Ace Boogie. Appreciate you guys rocking with me this season. Let's keep it going. Let's keep the spirits high. And let's stay optimistic, right? Because even if we go on 16, we still will have the number one pick in the draft. We still will be able to turn this thing around, okay? So as usual, I'll leave you guys with a who day, all day, every day, and especially on Sunday.